So we are finished with Michelangelo's painting examples. Now we're going to turn our attention to his absolute love, which was sculpting. As good as he was as a painter, he absolutely loved sculpting. So we can see here that his sculpture titled David is an absolute wonder. One of the most talked about pieces that Michelangelo sculpted. It is, of course, the depiction of King David of Israel in the Bible, and it is depicting the time when David was about to go into battle against Goliath. I'll show you some details up close so you can see what he has in his hands, which lets us know that he is about to fight Goliath. It is in Florence, Italy today at the Accademia Gallery. If you were to go and visit Florence, you could see this amazing sculpture in person. It is off the pedestal only 14 feet high. I say only, but on the pedestal, as you can see it here, which is the way it is displayed, it is a 17-foot tall sculpture. And you won't believe the amazing attention to detail that it has. More about that in a minute. We know that it was commissioned by the Florentine government, specifically the Medicis will own this at one time. In fact, there's another version of it that Michelangelo did, almost like a copy, that is right outside the famous government plaza, because originally this David was housed there, but then they were concerned about the weather, getting to it. So eventually it was moved indoors, and he did a replica that is still outside that you can go and see today. But the original one, of course, is in a museum right near that actual government plaza if you go to Florence, Italy. You can see here that it is made out of marble, which is different from Donatello's David, which was bronze. Already told you Donatello's David was only about 5 feet tall, whereas Michelangelo's is at least 17 feet. Again, when you look at it in its entirety. We know that when it was unveiled in that government plaza, a riot almost broke out because of the nudity. I mean, this was something not seen at the time. So unfortunately, it did not get great reviews at the beginning because, again, people didn't appreciate nudity that lived at that time. But we do know that it is characteristic of humanism, again, with the Greek and Roman features of nudity. It says here that the sculpture, it glorifies the human body, while facial features are individualistic. So again, make sure you understand that this is a great example of a sculpture with the humanistic ideas and characteristics. It is characteristic of the most heroic phase of Renaissance art. You can see here it is a vision of the human body that is more dramatic than realistic. And I'll show you what I mean by that with the oversized hands. First, if you'll look at the detail of the face, again, imagine taking a block of marble and chiseling this. I mean, you have to be a true artist in order to, get this as your end result. The details in the eyes and the hair are just unreal, even down to, the tip of the nail. That's just incredible when you really think about that. The hands, you can see here with the veins, unbelievable. But What he did was Michelangelo deliberately sculpted these, a lot larger than they would be realistic, to try to emphasize some of the features. Here is, of course, the back side of him. Again, the detail is unreal. And okay, so it didn't show you the actual close-up, but I can tell you up here, he's got the slingshot in his hand, he has the rock in his hand, and obviously he is getting ready to go into that battle, like I said, against Goliath. With this image, I want to point out a couple of similarities and differences between the three famous sculptings of David. Three, of course, different artists and their depictions of David. We've talked about Donatello's David, and we've talked about Michelangelo's David. Again, 15th century versus 16th century. And then I'm not going to spoil too much right now, but I will be going over Bernini's David in the 17th century, the 1600s. So you can see here, of course, the material used between Donatello and Michelangelo's David are different. Bronze in one, marble in the other. We talked about the height being different, okay? Similarity, they're both freestanding, okay? Which again resembles that Greco-Roman characteristics. Nothing like this had been seen since antiquity, these freestanding statues. And of course, the nudity in both of these two Davids, Donatello and Michelangelo's, is unique for the time period. Like I said, later we'll go over Bernini's, and then I'll try to, bring up the similarities and differences that he has to these two, but I'm not going to spoil it for you right now. So we are finished looking at the sculpting of Michelangelo's David. We're moving on to another sculpting wonder of his, and that is the beautiful Pietà. As you can see here, this is Michelangelo's depiction of the Virgin Mary holding the limp body of her son Jesus after the crucifixion. You can go and see this sculpture wonder today at St. Peter's Church in the Vatican, which is in Rome, Italy. Again, it's a one-of-a-kind. It's absolutely beautiful in person. It's the only work that Michelangelo actually signed. You can't see here, but on her satchel, he's got his signature there. Unfortunately, today, this sculpture is behind very thick glass because several years ago, this maniac did attack it with a hammer and actually damaged a part of the foot of Jesus. And used to, you could just walk right up to it, and see it, but not any longer, for its protection. But at least we still have it for the public to view. You can also see that Michelangelo used marble when he sculpted this, and he actually completed it in Florence, and then it was moved to Rome, like I said, where it is housed at St. Peter's Church. So we are finished with the sculpture examples that Michelangelo had, and we're moving on to finish up his information with the architectural examples. As you can see here, Michelangelo, as far as architecture goes, designed the enormous dome on top of St. Peter's Basilica, which again is the church in Rome that I've been talking about, where we just went over the Pietà. This dome, of course, is larger than Brunelleschi's in Florence, so don't get the two confused. And it was obviously Michelangelo was commissioned by the church in order to construct, the designs for this dome. It's a great example of Michelangelo's work as an architect. All right, so I'm going to end this video because we're done with Michelangelo's information, and we're going to move on to mannerism next.